most of you have been waiting for a long time, and I am sorry that I dragged this out for so long. Today we are going to be looking in at a RedX review of epic proportions of the return of the Movie Star Edition Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures produced by Playmates Toys back in 1992. Also released in the tie-in of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, which was a movie that was based more on the side of kid-friendly rather than young teenagers and more adults like the first one. And I believe that is the reason why we never did see any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie figures based off of the first movie. So, that being said, I just wanted to get that out of the way for the heck of it. Let's take a look at the figures at long last. So, I'm going to start this off with Raphael, my personal favorite, obviously. A serious badass character, which, you know, we've got a lot in common because we take no prisoners. So, yeah. Very nice sculpt. These figures are very, very impressive for the times. Like I said, these were released in 1992. So, yes, these are the rubber edition of the movie star figures. Now, in 1993, these figures were reproduced in order to fix some flaws, which we will get into in just a minute. But as you can see, Donatello already has one of those flaws. The figures were reproduced in plastic rather than being in the rubber style where they're supposed to feel like they came right off the screen and into the palm of your hands, like real reptiles, which is, I mean, you can feel it. Very soft, very rubbery, and kind of slimy. Just a little slimy in some areas, which is kind of cool. I mean, it really feels like an actual turtle in the palm of my hands, which is awesome. The only bit of plastic that are on these figures, not just their weapons, but is also their shells. I mean, that's it. Just the shells. And that puts on some weight on these figures. Just these very light rubber areas that really don't have any weight to them whatsoever, taking on a bunch of plastic right here in the center, which is pretty much the whole freaking body right here. I mean, you're talking about a lot of weight on these figures, and this is really that one issue that I've got about these figures. They really do not stand. And this is the reason why I say you should not go after these versions. You should go after the ones that were produced later on to fix this problem, where they were made in plastic rather than rubber. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you like high kicks and all that, these are the ones to go for because these are more flexible. Each one has 5 points of articulation like basic figures of the past, but really the rubber also helps out with some of that movement. I mean, like, you couldn't do this with any other Ninja Turtle figure. You can't get them to look up or down or to the sides, and you can't get their arms to come up so high like that. You can't get their legs to come up more beyond that. I mean that is just, this is great movement for figures back in the early 90s. I mean, there really wasn't much in the terms of articulation for figures back then, but I mean, Playmates had something going here. Sadly, though, it just wasn't well executed. I'm sorry to say it, these figures are not perfect, and they're not great. They're good, and they're nice, but I mean, they're not great and they're not perfect. They could have been something so much more had Playmates Toys took a little more advice into consideration. The fact that they are very, very soft, every single joint is made of a very soft rubber, just does not support the weight of the shells, and they just keep falling over. Now, I got them standing up right now because I got them in that right spot, that just one right spot that each figure has. And some of them suffer as well at the feet because Donatello and Michelangelo have feet sticking up in the air like the original Ninja Turtle figures did. Some of them have those legs, or I mean those feet that are just sticking in the air like Michelangelo, as you can see. Now, for some odd reason, these two do not suffer. The ones that suffer the most is Raphael and Leonardo, and they've got flat feet, both feet on the ground, and yet for some reason they fall over the most. Now, they're all going to fall over eventually because, I mean, it's like I said, they just can't support the weight of the shells. It's just too much for them. And, I mean, they're good to mess around with. I mean, that's what they're intended for back then. But, I mean, if you're a collector and you just like to pose figures and leave them in a certain pose on display stands and all that, they are not going to stand for too long. You'll get them to stand for a while, but sooner or later, they're just going to give. And that really hurts these figures. But other than that, I mean, they are in really good shape. These being in used condition, I cannot really complain about the condition that they are in. Some of them have some paint chips here and there. Michelangelo suffers the most, unfortunately, because his belt has been rubbing up against his shell for about 20 years now, and I mean, it's just starting to show. But, like I said, I mean, and beyond that, the condition on these figures is great. I mean, the paint apps are still there in a lot of places rather than just the shells. Their belts, they've still got their belts. I'm very fortunate about that. I mean, when I first got these figures, I didn't know how they were going to come, whether or not they were going to come with their belts. A lot of figures on eBay go for a lot. And these are figures that have very little accessories. They don't even have all their primary weapons. And also, due to the fact that they don't even have their belts, sometimes you can't get these figures under $100. Now, sometimes you can get lucky enough, but they would be missing a limb or something here and there. But that'd be like under 50. These figures go for a lot on eBay. Now, if they're in packaging, and I'd be very surprised if I could find a set like that, I'd say they'd be going for around, I don't know, 50 a figure. We're talking like $200. Now, if you add Master Splinter and the Foot Soldier to the rest of the lineup, like so, if they were all in package, you'd have like $300 worth of Ninja Turtle figures. And that's even without shipping. Imagine what shipping would be. I mean, we're talking a lot here. I mean, you can really make some big money off of these figures. And that's one particular reason why I'm not selling these figures and trying to find new ones. Because I actually like these figures. I mean, they've been in my collection for about a year now, alongside the Turtle Blimp. And I gotta say that I cannot stop looking at these figures whenever I enter this room. I mean, they are just that phenomenal. Now, they do suffer. I mean, not just at the joints and all that, not due to the fat because of the rubber, but... well, actually, that does play another role into this reason. Sometimes they will hold their weapons and sometimes they will not. Sometimes their weapons will just give out of their hands. Donatello suffers that much because usually he holds the bow staff in both his hands, not just one. And which you can actually reproduce right here. Unfortunately, though, it's because it's rubber on plastic. The rubber just gives form and then it just slides right out of one of his hands, mainly the left hand. But like I said, I got it in that very sweet spot. So it's going to stay in there for now. But if I start to mess around with the figure, not for long. Another reason why these figures suffer is because their belts are made of rubber, but you know, that's to be expected. Most of the Ninja Turtle figures' belts are made of rubber. But some of their weapon storages, like some of the pouches or Leonardo's sheaths on the back of his belt, they are in such a weird position. Like Leonardo, for instance, his are all curved up, as you can see. And this is not just my figure, this is every single Leonardo figure of the Movie Star Edition. For some reason, Playmates Toys decided to make these curve rather than come out straight like in the actual movie. So whenever you store his swords away and pull them out later on, this is how they end up. And let's not forget that these are also a gummy rubber, so this isn't helping one bit whatsoever. Now, I'm not so sure if each one of these figures are complete because, like I said, I bought these off of eBay in used condition, but to a standard condition where they are just fine with me. I cannot argue with the results. These are some pretty good figures and some pretty hard and sought after figures by most Ninja Turtle collectors out there. Because there never really was any original movie edition Ninja Turtle figures, not until The Secret of the Ooze came out, where, like I said, it was kid friendly and pointed more in the direction for kids rather than teenagers and adults. So it works. Now, unfortunately, they are not the same color as they were in the movie. Obviously, Playmates Toys is going to keep up with that tradition of making each Ninja Turtle figure a separate color choice, like in the Mirage comics, where one's a lighter green, one's a darker green, one's like a tannish green, and one's just some kind of lime green, pretty much. And that would be Leonardo. But, you know, I digress. That's good enough. It would have been nice if their pads on their elbows and knees would have actually been brown, like in the movies. That would have helped the color scheme from the movie look a lot more potential with these figures. But, you know, I'm just nitpicking here. These figures are great. Unfortunately, these are not the ones you should go for because of some of these issues. Because they really hurt these figures, especially for those who want to display their turtle figures. They're just not going to stand for so long. After a while, they're just going to give. So, Playmates Toys reproduced these figures in 1993 and made them all in plastic molds rather than rubber. So, those are the ones you should be going after. Now, there's one that you should not be going after, which we'll get to right here. Master Splinter. Now, why should you not go for the 1993 edition? Because I have seen the images of that figure, and he is god-awful. The head sculpt is so wrong. It definitely does not look like Master Splinter from the movies. While this one isn't that good, it's still, I mean, you can tell that's Master Splinter. He's even got the sliced-off ear. As you can see, one ear is shorter than the other, as represented in the first movie. So, that's nice, and that's a great homage to the original Ninja Turtles film, which I love. I can't get enough of that. But, unfortunately, just the second version of this figure is molded all in plastic. His face is molded in plastic. As you can see, this one is the fur edition. This is the original one that I've got, but the one I'm talking about, just avoid that one at all costs. He just doesn't look that good. He looks ugly. It's pathetic. Now, I do have some issues with Master Splinter. While he does have the most articulation out of all the Ninja Turtle movie edition figures, that the points being that he has a swivel head, swivel shoulders, wrist rotation on both hands, which is nice. He's got rotation at his tail, which helps out with standing him straight. And, yeah, his legs move up and down. So, yeah, he's got 2, 4, 6, 8, 8 points of articulation. That's really good for a figure back in the 90s. Like I said, articulation, I mean, you can't really ask for much back then. For his accessories, I mean, he does come with every single one that he actually originally came with, because I got this one actually in package. Master Splinter's got himself his signature bow and arrow that he used in that one scene on Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, when the turtles were captured in that net and they were heading for the spike pit, which was, you know, okay. He's also got some extra bows, or I'm sorry, extra arrows that are in this thing, which I forget what these are called, but the strap is removable, where you can actually wrap this around Master Splinter's arm or around his body, which, you know, you can. Unfortunately, the arrows are not removable, sadly. They're just molded in there for design, which is okay. He also comes with his signature walking stick. Now, unfortunately, this serves no purpose because he just doesn't hold it. As you see, you can try and get it in there. But like Donatello, even though he's got plastic hands, there's just no support. The hands cannot hold this weapon. Now, they will hold it if you've got it angled up like so, with this extra bit sticking out. Which, you know, that helps with the support, and it also helps with his bow and arrow and such. And he also comes with this TCRI can, or TGRI as it was called in the second film. Now, granted, this isn't the Mutations edition, where it's that very nicely looking clear version. Now, if they added a little more paint, like silver around the caps, it would have looked movie accurate, but, you know, I'm just getting carried away. This isn't even part of his accessories. But, you know, it's a nice homage. It's nice that it's there, so, you know, it's good. Last but not least, he has this Very, very soft cloth for his robe. Very wrinkled up and torn up, just like the movie. Very nice touch, Playmates. Unfortunately, his rope that is attached to his cloth, which pretty much keeps his robe on, the only thing that I can say about it was it's not orange. It's supposed to be black. I don't know why it's orange. I don't know why they chose that, but maybe there was like some kind of copyright issue. Maybe they couldn't go fully into accuracy with the Ninja Turtle line, but you know, what ifs. These are really great figures, but like I said, I cannot recommend these versions except for Master Splinter and the Foot Soldier. Now, why those two? Because those are really the only two that you can actually find. They never really did reproduce the Foot Soldier. There was nothing wrong with him in the first place. So, you know, this was the only one that they actually had. Master Splinter, on the other hand, the second version sucked. And the movie star Ninja Turtle figures, the second release, were, like I said, molded in plastic. And they were just overall better than these. So, you know, it's your choice whichever ones you want to get. But I really recommend that you take this into extreme consideration, because this is really, I mean, it all depends whether or not you want to pose your figures and just leave them on your shelves. Now, if you want to mess around with them, I do recommend these because you'll get more action sequences out of them. I mean, higher kicks, greater punches, you can get them to look up and down and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool. But really, like I said, if you want to just leave your figures on a stand and see how cool they are each and every time you go in your room, I cannot recommend these because they just won't stand for too long. So, how can we end this review? Well, let's go ahead and do some quick size comparisons. So, for some size comparisons, we're going to take a look at Michelangelo from the Next Mutations line to see how bigger they've gotten over the years. As you can see, they are more mature. Or Michelangelo's more mature, and, you know, that's a story for another day. For another quick size comparisons with another Ninja Turtle figure, let's bring in a modern day version. Here's Metalhead from the new series. And as you can see, he's about the same size as Mikey. No, actually, he's a little taller than Mikey. So yeah, he might make a great villain or a great ally if you choose to. And last but not least, I'm just going to bring in, not Crime Attack Batman, but Power Wing Batman. Just in case anybody wants to do a, you know, Worlds Collide or something like that. I mean, heck, the Power Rangers teamed up with the Ninja Turtles. Why couldn't Batman? So, overall, like I said, there's my reasons on why and why not you should actually get these figures. Like I said, I do recommend them I mean, the reasons why you should get them for play value, but when it comes to just owning these figures and posing them and leaving them in certain positions, these are not the ones to get. Look for the 1993 version. So, until I do another RedX review of Epic Proportions, that's it. So, questions, comments, leave them down below, and that's me, RedX, signing out. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.